this is Cammie from the School of Engineering at USC. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's about 5:05 Pacific time, so thanks to all of you that are joining us from across the country, and I know there are some of you also that are outside of the United States, so thanks for spending a little bit of time with us today to learn more about our doctoral programs in the Chemical Engineering Department, which includes Material Science and Petroleum Engineering. So what I'm going to do, I'll go ahead and just get started right now. And I'm first going to go over a couple of just a little details in order for you to kind of make the most out of this web seminar. So I'll go ahead and talk about those details right now. So most of you are asking, and I'm hoping that you all are hearing me, how do I listen to the presentation? You should listen through your computer speakers. Alternatively, if you would like to dial into our toll-free number, if you're located in the United States, you can click on Event Info tab, which is right above this presentation, and then you'll get all the dial-in information, and you can call into your phone as well. So just use that to be able to listen to the audio. Will you get a copy of the slides? You can receive a copy of the slides by email if you'd like to kind of take a look at the slides after the presentation. And then how do I ask a question during the presentation? Definitely use the Q&A function if you have questions. You'll likely all notice that your phones have actually been muted. So we actually can't hear, and some of our attendees sometimes like to do other things or take notes or type or something while we're doing the web seminars. So generally we actually mute all of the attendees. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now, because I want to make sure that everybody's able to hear me, and obviously if I'm talking right now and people won't hear the instructions, but I'm going to go ahead and send everybody a chat message through the chat window. Please don't use this one to ask us questions because we may not be able to see it. Use the Q&A window if you can, but I'm going to just do a quick test and then just, if you don't mind, just kind of sending me a quick note to just confirm you can hear. Give me 1 second. Okay, great. Thanks to those of you who have helped me out by confirming that you can hear. Definitely sometimes some of us have technical difficulties. Just really adjust the audio on your computer speakers or dial into the toll-free number. I would suggest that that's the best way to do it. I know some of us might possibly have technical problems, but just definitely kind of take a look at those things. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started, and just to give you just a little brief overview of what we'll cover today. We're just going to take about 20 to 25 minutes at the maximum to kind of go over some of the content on this presentation, and we'll leave some time for questions as well. So just kind of getting to know the university and the School of Engineering, I'll talk a little bit about that, and then I'll introduce Professor Noah Malmstadt, who will talk about the Mork Family Department of Chemical and Materials Engineering, and he'll kind of talk more about our doctoral programs in that area, and then definitely you can address questions to us after that. Okay, so many of you may already know, but I'll talk a little bit about the university. USC is the oldest private university in the western United States. We have a very diverse student population here at USC. I think we actually have probably the most diverse population in the United States. And I didn't mention this, but many, many years ago, I was actually a student here in our School of Communications, and I feel like that was one of the most valuable parts of my education here, was really being able to work with students from really all over the world and all over the country. So that was a great learning experience for myself. In addition to the engineering school, obviously as a research institution, we do have many other professional schools like business, law, medicine, dentistry, public policy, communications. So there are many different other disciplines here as well. And many of you have probably already figured out we're located in Los Angeles, right in the heart of downtown. Right now we have over 365,000 alumni worldwide. We have many alumni chapters all over the world, and so it's a really strong alumni network that we have here at USC. Okay, So a little bit, too, many of you are probably familiar or hopefully have visited Los Angeles at some point, but Los Angeles is a great place to consider to do your graduate study. We do provide a lot of learning experiences for students both in and outside of the classroom, and I really believe that our students really benefit from our very prime location here in Los Angeles. Just being able to have a really diverse array of cultural and educational opportunities. And so I just definitely wanted to kind of point that out as well, just about our location. And then the School of Engineering, you can kind of just take a look at this just as a snapshot. The School of Engineering recently celebrated its 110th year. We are one of the oldest schools on the USC campus. The engineering school population, we have about 2,400 undergraduate students and about 4,800 graduate students, which includes master's and PhD students. We have 8 academic departments, over 60 master's programs, and 13 doctoral programs. And then you can kind of look here. We have about 180 tenure-track faculty members as well and 45 research centers. Okay, so Professor Malmstadt will talk a little bit more about the Chemical and Materials Science Department. But what I'll do right now is I kind of pass that over to him. Just one thing to kind of think about as you're thinking about a doctoral program. We do have a summer research program here at the School of Engineering, which is a great kind of segue for students who are sophomores or juniors, so your second or third year, who are interested in doing research and just kind of exposing yourself to life in a lab and working alongside a professor. And it's a great opportunity to come here during the summer and spend 6 to 8 weeks working alongside a professor. It's a very competitive program. We do provide a stipend and then travel and then housing as well. But definitely consider that. And I know Professor Malmstadt and some of the faculty members in his department generally submit projects for this program for students to come and work alongside them during the summer. So just take a look at that as well. So as I'm going to pass that over to him, do kind of take into consideration that summer research program. And we do have some visitation days as well during the course of the year so that you might consider kind of coming to the USC campus, you know, getting to know some currently enrolled PhD students or staff and faculty. So that's kind of a good opportunity as well. And that these programs are administered by the Graduate and Professional Programs Office. And we work in conjunction with the academic departments to do these. Okay, so give me 1 second while I actually switch over, and then Professor Malmstadt is going to be the host. So give me 1 minute, and I'm going to unmute his phone and then switch over to his presentation. Just 1 second. Okay, Professor, you can go ahead, and if you want to go ahead and try to test to see if you can scroll and advance through the slides. I've handed over all the presenter privileges to you, and I've also unmuted your phone, so yeah.
Great. Thank you so much for the introduction, Cami, and thanks for that introduction to USC and the Viterbi School. So as Cami said, my name is Noah Malmstadt. I'm a Associate Professor in the Mork Family Department of Chemical Engineering and Material Science at USC Viterbi School of Engineering. I've been here since 2007. My work is diverse. I do a lot of work with microfluidics, so developing new microfluidic technologies, new ways to assemble microfluidic devices, as well as using microfluidics for the sustainable synthesis of nanomaterials. I also do a lot of work on biomimetic cell membranes, understanding structure-property relationship in cell membranes, and building diagnostic platforms and drug discovery platforms based on integral membrane proteins. So that's a little bit about me. I'm going to tell you a little bit now about the Mork Family Department. First of all, this kind of unusual name we have, the Mork Family Department. There's a very good reason for that name. It's because 10 years ago, we were endowed by the Mork family. John Mork is a USC alum with a petroleum engineering BS in 1970 and MS in 2012. He's also the CEO of Energy Corp of America, and he and his family endowed the department with $15 million back in 2005. That endowment has basically allowed us to do a lot of great work in developing graduate programs within the department. So we do a lot of funding of graduate fellowships. We also fund some undergraduate fellowships with the endowment, and the endowment that gave us our name also allows us to do some great programmatic activities, sending students to travel to conferences, that sort of thing. So that's why we are the Mork Family Department, and we're tremendously grateful to John Mork for his and his family's generosity. So as Cami pointed out, the Mork Family Department on the PhD level includes 3 degree programs. There's a degree program in chemical engineering, in material science, and petroleum engineering. The reason we're under one department is because there's a lot of collaboration and feedback between those 3 programs. So my own... I don't have a degree in any of those. I've got a PhD in bioengineering, but my undergraduate degree is in chemical engineering. And even though I kind of sit in the chemical engineering section of the department, I work with a lot of material science PhD students. My research group is about 50-50 material science and chemical engineering PhD students, and that's not unusual. So there's a lot of overlap and collaboration between the 3 PhD programs. And in applying to a PhD program, you have the opportunity to work with any of the faculty members who are in the department. So a little bit about the current PhD program. So right now we've got on the order of 100-ish PhD students, 54 enrolled in the chemical engineering program, 17 enrolled in the petroleum engineering program, and 34 enrolled in the material science program. The average time to graduate from all 3 PhD programs is about 4.5 years. So on average, 4 to 5 years to graduate. The PhD program itself consists of it's essentially a year of core classes. At the end of that year of core classes, you take a screening exam. The screening exam is comprehensive. Actually, let me go back. So there's some diversity in programs. For material science and petroleum engineering, you take your screening exam at the end of the first year. For chemical engineering, the screening exam is designed to cover the undergraduate chemical engineering knowledge base, and it's taken in January. So for chemical engineering, screening exam in January, if any of the sections of the screening exam are not passed, there's a retake in May. For petroleum and material science, there's an oral component to the screening exam. There's then a qualifying exam, which is typically taken in the 2nd or 3rd year, and there's a slightly different format for the qualifying exam between the 3 programs, but generally it involves a research presentation and a proposal for completing your dissertation research. Okay, so that's what the PhD programs look like. I want to point out that one thing that we have is a lot of fellowship support for incoming PhD students. So this is just this is a list of the new students who got fellowships in the last year. So you see we've got on the order of 10 or 12 students there with new fellowships in the last year. So that represents 1 year of PhD students. So that's the majority of our incoming PhD students with fellowship support. Right. In addition to these fellowships, which come from the School of Engineering and the university, we also have our Mork Family Department fellowship. So there's additional fellowship support from the department, and that goes on to support an additional 5 or 6 PhD students each year. So you can see that we have fellowship support for the majority of incoming PhD students, and I will tell you right now that there's a preference for domestic students for fellowship support. So if you're coming from the U.S., there's a high probability of receiving fellowship support as a first-year PhD student at the Mork Family Department. Okay, so the reason that you're interested in the PhD program is because you're interested in research. Research in the Mork Family Department is driven by our 15 core faculty and our 15 adjunct faculty. And as a PhD student enrolled in any of the programs for the department, you are eligible to be advised by any of these faculty members. We are a well-funded research department with about $9 million in external research funding in the 2014-2015 fiscal year. All right, so if you're interested in doing research, you're interested in your research advisors, let me briefly introduce you to our faculty and talk a little bit about the research that they do. So I'm going to introduce you to the faculty in terms of categories that their research falls into. Well, first of all, I'm going to talk a little bit about the awards that we've won in the past year. So Andrea Armani was named a Global Young Leader by the World Economic Forum. I got the Junior Research Award from the Viterbi School of Engineering. Fred Amidiza, Christian Jetson, and Benam Jafapour all received SPE Regional Technical Awards. So this is our highly awarded petroleum engineering faculty. All right, so in terms of the categories of work that we do, we categorize our work into energy, the physics and chemistry of energy, and you have people like Fiot Sassis, George Ola, Yanis Yortsots, Mohammed Sahimi, Mark Thompson, Florian Mansfeld, Dan Dapkis, Kathy Shing, Joe Chin, Anupam Mandukar, working on energy-related topics. So this includes things like flow-through porous media, so the kind of things that you need to do to understand resource retrieval, as well as things like catalyst development, solar cell development, design of efficient processes for energy distribution and energy control. All right, then we have people working on biochemical engineering. So there's Andrea Armani, Rich Roberts, Pin Wong, Ted Lee, and myself over to the right. So people doing things like design of peptides for targeting cancer markers, or design of viral vectors for treatment of cancer, or development of new detection technologies for doing biomedical diagnostics. Then, of course, you have the petroleum people, subterranean energy resource evaluation and production. So Raj Ishagi, Badam Jafapour, Kristen Jensen from Fred Amidiza, and Benender Jad, a new faculty who's joining the department in January. We are a very strong department in terms of high-performance computer simulations, particularly for material design. So you have Mohammed Sahimi, Arya Rochelle, Priya Vashishta, Echir Nakano, and Rajiv Kalia here, working on computer simulations. And a lot of these people are experts in doing materials design via computer simulations. As of this year, Priya Vashishta is leading a new materials genome research center focused on the computational design of materials. And finally, there are people who are working in materials outside of the computational realm. So you have Andrea Hodge, Mike Kastner, Jong Sung Yoon, Anupam Mandukar, Dan Dapkis, Ed Gu, Terry Langdon, Malancha Gupta, Steve Nutt, and Shanggu Zhang, all doing work on advanced materials, a lot of work on metallic materials, thin layer devices, nanomaterials, and polymer and composite materials design and optimization. All right, so that's the faculty here, and that should give you some idea of the breadth of the research that's accomplished in our department. Some contact information, myself, if you're interested in particular research information, so either my own research, or if you're interested in other research in the department, I can point you to the relevant person to talk to. Andy Chen is our Director of Student Affairs. He would be a great contact for details regarding the logistics of the program, both applying to the program and what moving through the program looks like. And finally, Cami Lee, who talked to you at the beginning of this presentation, at the Graduate and Professional Programs office in the School of Engineering. So that's all I have to talk about specifically, and I'm ready to take questions now. And if I'm correct, the questions are all delivered by text in the My Q&A box.
Right. Okay, we'll go ahead. Thank you so much, Professor Malmstadt. We'll go ahead and just kind of open things up for questions. I did have a question separately from a student who asked whether you would advise if she is interested in a doctoral program, what do you think is the first couple of steps that she should take? Should she contact a professor she's interested in first, or what would you advise for that person?
Yeah, that's a good idea. The first thing that you should do is directly contact an advisor that you're interested in working for. Email is usually the best route of contact for that. If you don't get an immediate response via email, try another email, and then maybe try a phone call if that's not getting you any feedback. But yeah, direct contact with the professor who you're interested in working for is probably the best route to finding information about the PhD program and about the particular research that you're interested in.
Okay, great. Thank you. We'll go ahead and look at the Q&A. So go ahead and use that Q&A window for any of you that have any questions for the professor, and then we'll go ahead and address those. Many of our other attendees will likely benefit from other questions as well. Okay? We'll just give it a second. Okay, so Professor Malmstadt, you have a question here from Adam.
So Adam, in terms of credit, you still need to earn the credits to graduate if you have a previously earned master's degree, but those can be earned via a combination of elective courses and research credits. If you have a previous master's degree, there is the option to pass out of the core classes. In which case we would be applying the coursework that you did in your chemical engineering master's degree to our core classes, and deciding which of the classes that you took in your master's fulfill those core course requirements. You would still have to pass the screening exam. Now, our chemical engineering screening exam is aimed towards the undergraduate coursework. So you should, based on your undergraduate knowledge, be able to pass that screening exam. So Jot, so in terms of funding, I was talking about fellowship funding there. You're asking. So I said that students from the U.S. have a high probability of getting funded. What about funding for students from outside the U.S.? So I was speaking specifically to fellowship funding there. All of our students are funded. So any student admitted to the program will be funded either through fellowships, through a graduate research assistantship, so that's federal grant funding or corporate grant funding that goes to pay the student stipend for a graduate research assistant, or through a TA-ship. So we don't have unfunded students in the department. Everyone's funded. What I was speaking to in the presentation was fellowship funding, which is we do have a preference for domestic students in our fellowship funding. So Christopher is asking how much of a benefit is publishing a peer-reviewed journal as an undergraduate to the admissions process, as opposed to participating in research but not publishing. It's always good to publish. So we definitely would look on published research as a plus. But if you did research in a lab, then that's also good. If you did research but didn't publish, we'll take a close look at the letter of recommendation from your undergraduate research advisor, and if that indicates that you're a strong researcher, even if you didn't publish, that's a definite plus. You've got a leg up on people who have not done research. So Judd is asking. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry to interrupt you. May I also ask along those lines, because we do have prospective students that ask this question as well, kind of in related to the research experience. Can you kind of give examples of what kind of research experience, other examples? Like if they perhaps did not do a lot of research at the actual university, but they had research experience possibly doing an internship, is that something that's taken into consideration as well?
So what I've seen a lot is people who are coming to the PhD program after spending some time in industry, and if you've done research in industry, that's obviously a good thing. Industrial research experience is good, and again, we will look at specifically what kind of research you did. You know, a PhD program is a very individual thing. When you're doing your PhD work, you're doing very particular research. And we'll be looking at people as individual. So we do admissions as individual faculty members, trying to identify people who mesh well with our research. In general, we like to talk to people before admitting them. So people who have people who we've talked to and who have a good understanding of what working in our research groups is going to be like. And in that case, we'd be looking for people who did research in an internship that meshes well with the kind of research or with the flavor of research that we do in our research groups.
Okay, great.
So Judd is asking what's the difference in funding. So the difference in fellowship funding, graduate research assistantship, and TAship. So in a TAship, you're going to be TAing a class. So you'll be a teaching assistant. So that generally involves running a discussion section once a week, having office hours where the undergraduate students will come in and ask you questions about the homework, and doing grading. If you're on a graduate research assistantship, that means that you're part of a federally funded or an industrially funded research program. So you'll have concrete research goalposts, deliverables that need to be met related to that research program. If you're on a fellowship, generally you have more freedom to do to do your choice of work. This will be decided on the basis of consultation with your research advisor, but and of course your research advisor is going to be working towards their goals. So within the context of their goals, on a basis of an ongoing discussion, there's a little more freedom there to define what kind of work you'll be doing.
And then I did have a question also previously from one of the attendees who asked this question prior to the seminar beginning. But do you have any kind of perspective on how many students or what percentage of students actually started as a master's student at USC and then went on to do the PhD program? Just in terms of your
yeah, that's a good question. So I would say that each year we admit on the order of 15, generally between 12 and 18 PhD students, and I would say between 2 and 3 of those are from the USC Master's Program.
Okay. Okay, great. So then, would you think that is that ever an advisable path for a student to kind of go in and start if they're possibly thinking about doing a PhD program? Is that kind of another route as opposed to applying directly to the PhD program as well?
Only if you think you have some deficiency in your record. If you have a critical deficiency in GPA that would make it impossible to be admitted to the PhD program. That's the only circumstance in which I would recognize that, in which I would recommend that route. Generally, if you want to do a PhD program, you should probably aim directly to the PhD program.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you have one more question about just kind of weightage when we're looking at the PhD application.
I mean, so I can't give you exact weights. I will tell you that we'd like to have GPAs north of 3.5, though we will consider GPAs below 3.5 if you have a strong record of research experience. We'd like to see GRE scores in the 90th percentile for analytical. But again, if you have a lower score than that, we look at things like recommendation letters and research experience. A lot of weight is put on previous research experience. Particularly if that research experience is associated with a strong recommendation letter. Okay, great. Thank you. If anybody has any additional questions, feel free to submit them through the Q&A window. We can give everyone just a couple of more minutes. If you choose to contact us separately, that's perfectly fine too, and you can see here our contact information. So we'll just go ahead and give everyone, Professor, if it's okay with you, just a couple minutes. That's fine. Okay. So, Adam, regarding letters of recommendation from work, that depends on the nature of the work. If it's something research intensive, so if we're talking about industrial R&D or R&D at a national lab, R&D at some sort of government lab, then yeah, we would love to see a letter of recommendation from whoever was supervising the research. That would be definitely be useful for your application. But if we're talking about I don't know, like consulting, that's not going to be as much of an that's not going to help us evaluate your application as well as recommendations from people you did undergraduate research with or your undergraduate professors.
Okay, that's a good question, and that is a question that is a very common one regarding kind of what the letters of recommendation where they should originate. And then, do you have any suggestions, Professor, about the content of the statement of purpose?
Yeah. So what we want to see. Well, okay. So I'm going to be more specific to myself here. What I want to see in a statement of purpose is a demonstration that you're a good scientific communicator. So honestly, I don't care why you're interested in engineering. It'd be nice for you to tell me why you're interested in engineering, but really what I want to see in the statement of purpose is a demonstration of your writing ability and a demonstration that you can clearly communicate technical knowledge. So as part of your statement of purpose, you're going to be talking about what you're interested in the field, what kind of work you want to do. I want to see you clearly express that you know what the field looks like, that you're able to communicate in clear terms, in terms that are current to the field, what your goals are in terms of the kind of research you want to do. And yeah, that's the main thing. From my point of view, the statement of purpose is a demonstration of your communication ability as a technical or scientific writer. So is participating in our U programs viewed more favorably than research at one's home university? I would say no. There's really not a strong bias towards one or the other. I would say that very strong applications often contain one RU experience that has a strong letter of recommendation associated with it, and then a more intense period of work or a longer period of work at the home university that consists of a strong body of research. So some time spent that's developed a strong body of research that's either leading towards a publication or that has resulted in a publication. So the thing with an RU program is it's only going to be one summer, and it's generally not going to have a body of research work associated with it, a substantial body of research work associated with it. If you're able to do work that results in a publication during an RU, that's awesome. I mean, you're a superstar. But generally, that's not going to happen. So an RU that has a strong letter of recommendation associated with it, together with a body of work that's substantial and that's leading towards publication, and that therefore, of course, I would expect that to have a strong letter of recommendation associated with it.
Okay, if there's any other additional questions, please go ahead and submit them. Otherwise, probably in the next couple of minutes, we'll go ahead and wrap up. We'll also have a recording of this session available on the website, so you can kind of review it if there's any parts for any of you that you had missed. And then in the meantime, while any of you are thinking of any additional questions, we do have a couple of additional web seminars coming up in October with a few of the other professors in the more family department as well to cover petroleum engineering and then material science as well, right?
Yep. Yeah, so I'm kind of here representing chemical engineering, though. I am able to answer questions generally towards the program. And like I said, I do regularly advise material science students.
Okay, so I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and then we're going to start wrapping up. But what I'll just remind all of you is that our contact information is there. So if after we close you think of other additional questions, you can definitely feel free to contact us. But I'd like to thank Professor Malmstadt and all of you around the country and many of you from outside of the U.S. for joining us today. And then definitely we'll follow up with you with copies of the slides. And then, as I said, just feel free to contact us if you have any additional questions. Okay? So thanks very much. Thanks to everyone. And then have a good evening.